The power dynamics within the Cleveland Browns locker room just shifted in a massive way, and if you aren't paying close attention, you are missing one of the most fascinating storylines in the entire NFL right now. Myles Garrett, the undisputed leader of the Browns defense and arguably the best defensive player in the league, has thrown his full support behind Shedeur Sanders in a way that sends an unmistakable message to Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff. This is our quarterback now, and you better not mess this up. When the franchise's most important player publicly endorses a fifth-round rookie quarterback after his debut start, that is not just a compliment, that is a statement, that is a line drawn in the sand. That is Myles Garrett telling the entire organization that Shedeur Sanders has earned the respect of the locker room and deserves to keep this job. Let's start with what Myles Garrett actually said, because the context and timing of these comments matter enormously. After recording 3 sacks in a dominant defensive performance where the Browns tallied 10 total sacks against the Raiders, Garrett could have talked exclusively about his own accomplishments or the defensive dominance. Instead, he chose to use his post-game press conference platform to praise his rookie quarterback, specifically highlighting a throw that most quarterbacks in the NFL cannot make. "There are not many guys in the league who can make that throw," Garrett said, referring to Shedeur's 50-plus yard completion to Isaiah Bond. That statement is loaded with significance when you break it down completely. Myles Garrett isn't some random teammate offering generic support. He is a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a Defensive Player of the Year, and the cornerstone of the entire Browns franchise. When he speaks, people listen. When he evaluates talent, his opinion carries weight. And when he says that Shedeur made a throw that most NFL quarterbacks cannot make, he is not exaggerating for effect or being a good teammate. He is giving an honest assessment based on years of watching elite quarterbacks from the defensive side of the ball. The throw that Garrett referenced was the 52-yard completion to Isaiah Bond, where protection broke down and Shedeur had to improvise, extend the play, and then deliver an absolute missile downfield into a tight window. That was not a simple pitch and catch. That was not a scheme-generated wide-open receiver. That was pure arm talent combined with pocket presence and the confidence to let it rip even with pressure collapsing around him. And Myles Garrett, who has spent his entire career watching quarterbacks try and fail to make plays against him, recognized immediately that what he just witnessed was special. The entire Browns sideline reacted to that throw with genuine shock and excitement. You could see players jumping up, celebrating, looking at each other with expressions that said, "Did you just see what I saw?" That kind of authentic reaction from teammates cannot be manufactured or fake. Those are legitimate responses from professional football players who understand the difficulty of what they just witnessed. When your own sideline is stunned by a throw your quarterback just made, that tells you everything about the level of talent on display. But it was not just that one throw. Shedeur also completed a 39-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy that showed touch and accuracy. He threw the screen pass to Dylan Sampson that turned into a 66-yard touchdown. Throughout the game, he made plays at all 3 levels of the field, showing he can attack defenses in multiple ways rather than being limited to one type of throw or scheme. That versatility is what has Myles Garrett and other Browns players so excited about the potential they are seeing from their rookie quarterback. The journey that Shedeur has taken to get to this moment makes this story even more compelling and gives context to why Garrett's support means so much. Shedeur Sanders was once considered a legitimate first-round talent by many draft analysts and scouts. Some even had him projected as a top 10 pick based on his college performance, his leadership qualities, and his NFL-ready skill set. But draft day came and went, and pick after pick was called without Shedeur's name being announced. The first round passed, the second round passed, the third round passed, and still no Shedeur Sanders. When he finally got selected by the Cleveland Browns with the 44th overall pick in the 5th round, it was both a relief that he had been drafted and a shock that he had lasted that long. The reasons for his fall varied depending on who you ask. Some scouts questioned his arm strength, though anyone watching him sling the ball 50-plus yards downfield would struggle to see the concern. Others worried about whether he could succeed without his father coaching him. There were whispers about his contract demands and the prime equity clause being a complication. And of course, there was the usual skepticism that surrounds high-profile players who receive significant media attention. But the real adversity started once Shedeur arrived in Cleveland. He wasn't just buried on the depth chart. He was the 4th-string quarterback sitting behind Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and rookie Dillon Gabriel. For someone who had been a starting quarterback throughout his college career and had led his teams to success at both Jackson State and Colorado, being relegated to 4th-string status had to be humbling and frustrating. Most players in that situation would have sulked, complained, or requested a trade. Shedeur chose a different path. He put his head down and worked. The preseason game against the Panthers was Shedheur's first real opportunity to show what he could do, and he took full advantage. He performed well, making plays and showing the skills that had made him a highly touted prospect coming out of college. But even after that solid performance, nothing changed. He remained the fourth quarterback on the depth chart, barely getting practice reps with the starters, essentially treated like a developmental project who might never see meaningful playing time. The criticism directed at Shedeur throughout this process was often personal and unfair. People called him arrogant, egocentric, entitled. They said he was only getting attention because of his famous father. They claimed he didn't have the humility or work ethic necessary to succeed in the NFL. But here is what those critics missed. Shedeur never complained publicly about his situation. He never demanded a trade or threw his coaches under the bus. He showed up every day, worked with the scout team, prepared like a professional, and waited for his opportunity, while ignoring all the noise and negativity directed at him. That approach earned him respect in the Browns locker room, particularly from veteran leaders who understand what it takes to succeed in the NFL. They watched Shedeur handle a difficult situation with maturity and professionalism. They saw him working hard in practice, even though he wasn't getting meaningful reps. They observed how he prepared and carried himself, and they came away impressed. By the time Shedeur finally got his chance to start, due to Dillon Gabriel's concussion, he had already won over key teammates through his actions rather than his words. Myles Garrett's public support is the most visible example of that respect, but it's not the only one. Throughout Shedeur's debut start, you could see teammates celebrating his successes with genuine enthusiasm. After big plays, players were mobbing him with authentic excitement rather than perfunctory congratulations. The energy on the sideline was different, more electric, more engaged. That is what happens when a locker room believes in their quarterback and wants to see him succeed. The situation that Kevin Stefanski now finds himself in is absolutely fascinating from a leadership and organizational management perspective. Dillon Gabriel remains in concussion protocol, and there is no firm timeline for when he will be cleared to return to action. But even when Gabriel is medically cleared, Stefanski faces an incredibly difficult decision that will define his tenure in Cleveland and potentially determine his job security moving forward. On one hand, Dillon Gabriel was the quarterback who started the season. There is organizational inertia and commitment to previous decisions that often influences coaching staffs to stick with their initial plan, even when circumstances change. Stefanski could argue that Gabriel deserves to get his job back once he is healthy, that one good game from Shedeur doesn't erase everything that came before, that continuity and stability at the position matter. On the other hand, Shedeur Sanders just made history by becoming the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut start in 30 years. He showed playmaking ability that has the entire locker room, including the team's best player, publicly endorsing him. He brought energy and excitement to the offense that had been missing. The fans are clamoring for him to remain the starter. The momentum is entirely on his side, and most importantly, he proved he can play at this level and win games, which is ultimately what matters most. The phrase "they no longer want Dillon Gabriel as quarterback" in the title might seem dramatic, but based on the reactions from players and the energy around Shedeur's performance, it is not far from the truth. When your defensive leader is using his post-game platform to praise the rookie quarterback's abilities, when teammates are celebrating his plays with genuine excitement, when the entire building has a different feel with Shedeur under center, that sends a clear message about which direction the locker room wants to go. This puts Kevin Stefanski in an incredibly precarious position. If he brings Dillon Gabriel back as the starter once he is cleared from concussion protocol, he is going against what the locker room clearly wants. He is potentially alienating Myles Garrett and other veteran leaders who have seen what Shedeur can do and believe he gives them the best chance to win. He is disappointing fans who are desperate to see more of the rookie quarterback who just ended a 30-year drought, and he is risking a full-blown quarterback controversy that could derail the entire season. But if Stefanski commits to Shedeur as the starter moving forward, he is essentially admitting that his previous evaluation and depth chart decisions were wrong. He is acknowledging that the fourth-string quarterback who wasn't getting meaningful reps was actually better than the guys ahead of him all along. That is a difficult thing for any coach to admit, especially when they are already facing scrutiny about their decision-making and job security. The comparison between Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel is interesting because they represent completely different quarterback archetypes and career trajectories. Gabriel was drafted higher and was given first-team reps throughout training camp in the SURS. He had every organizational advantage and opportunity to establish himself as the guy. But when you watch the tape and see the plays Shedeur made in his debut, it is hard not to wonder what the Browns saw in Gabriel that made them so committed to him over Sanders. The concussion that Gabriel suffered is obviously not his fault and is a serious medical situation that needs to be handled properly with zero pressure to return before he is fully healthy. But from a team building and organizational perspective, that injury created an opportunity for Shedeur to show what he could do, and he absolutely seized that moment. Sometimes in sports, your opportunity comes in unexpected ways, and how you respond to that opportunity determines your career trajectory. Shedeur responded by making history and earning the respect of his teammates and coaches. The upcoming game against the San Francisco 49ers presents another fascinating storyline. The 49ers are a talented team with a strong defense that will present a much stiffer challenge than the Raiders did. If Shedeur starts that game and performs well against a quality opponent, it will strengthen the case that he should be the permanent starter.
If he struggles, critics will say the Raiders game was a fluke and he is not ready for the consistent grind of an NFL season. Either way, that game will be must-watch television because of the implications for Cleveland's quarterback situation. Kevin Stefanski's refusal to commit to Shedeur as the starter moving forward is telling. In his post-game comments, he was complimentary of Shedeur's performance, but non-committal about the future. That calculated non-answer suggests he is trying to keep his options open and not box himself into a corner. But that kind of ambiguity creates uncertainty that can be toxic in a locker room. Players want to know who their quarterback is. They want to rally around one guy and build chemistry and trust. The wishy-washy approach of keeping everyone guessing serves no one's interests. The warning that Myles Garrett is sending to Stefanski, while not explicitly stated, is clear when you read between the lines. By publicly praising Shedeur's abilities and highlighting throws that most NFL quarterbacks cannot make, Garrett is telling his head coach, "This is special talent. Do not screw this up." When your best defensive player, your team leader, your franchise cornerstone is going out of his way to endorse the rookie quarterback, you better listen. Ignoring that message would be organizational malpractice. The broader context of Browns' history makes this situation even more significant. This franchise has been searching for a franchise quarterback for decades. They have drafted them high, signed veteran free agents, traded for established starters, and tried everything imaginable to solve the position. Nothing has worked for any sustained period. The quarterback carousel has been relentless and depressing, a constant source of mockery and frustration for one of the NFL's oldest and most storied franchises. And now, completely unexpectedly, they might have found their answer in a fifth-round pick who was the fourth-string quarterback just weeks ago. If Shedeur Sanders develops into the franchise quarterback that his debut suggests he could become, it would be one of the great draft steals in NFL history. It would validate Andrew Berry's talent evaluation and his willingness to take Shedeur despite the skepticism. And it would finally, mercifully end Cleveland's quarterback nightmare. But all of that potential can only be realized if the coaching staff and organization commit to Shedeur and give him the support and opportunity necessary to develop. Pulling him in and out of the lineup, creating quarterback controversies, failing to build the offense around his strengths, all of those things would sabotage his development and potentially waste a golden opportunity that the Browns have stumbled into almost by accident. The fan reaction to this entire situation has been overwhelmingly in favor of keeping Shedeur as the starter. Browns fans are desperate for quarterback stability and success. They have suffered through decades of disappointment and false hope. They have watched other teams find franchise quarterbacks while Cleveland cycled through replacement-level players. So when they finally see a quarterback who looks like he might be the real deal, someone who can make all the throws and handle the pressure and win games, they are not going to accept the coaching staff going back to a previous starter just because that was the original plan. Social media has been flooded with takes demanding that Shedeur remain the starter. Local Cleveland sports radio has been dominated by discussions about the quarterback situation. National analysts are weighing in with their opinion. The pressure on Kevin Stefanski to make the right decision is immense and growing by the hour. Every day he refuses to commit to Shedeur as the starter, pressure intensifies. The reality is that Shedeur Sanders has earned the right to keep this job through his performance, his preparation, and the respect he has gained in the locker room. He has proven he can play at this level. He has shown he is not overwhelmed by the moment or the pressure. He has made plays that have his teammates and coaches genuinely excited about his potential. Walking away from all of that to go back to Dillon Gabriel would be a catastrophic organizational failure that Browns fans would never forgive. Myles Garrett's support gives Shedeur credibility and political capital within the organization that money cannot buy. When the team's best player, the guy who carries the defense and is the face of the franchise, is publicly endorsing you, that matters. It influences how coaches think about the situation. It affects how teammates view the quarterback competition. It creates momentum that becomes difficult to reverse. The comparison to other recent quarterback controversies around the NFL is instructive. We have seen teams stick with veterans when younger players clearly gave them a better chance to win, and those decisions almost always end badly. We have seen coaches refuse to make obvious quarterback changes because of pride or stubbornness, only to get fired when the season falls apart. The lessons are clear. When you have a quarterback who can make plays and win games, you ride with him regardless of draft position or preseason depth chart.
So here we are watching one of the most fascinating quarterback situations in the NFL unfold in real time. Shedeur Sanders has the talent, the respect of his teammates, and the support of the team's best player. Dillon Gabriel is in concussion protocol with an uncertain timeline for return. Kevin Stefanski is facing the most important decision of his coaching tenure, and the entire Browns fan base is holding its collective breath, hoping that finally, mercifully, their organization makes the right choice at quarterback. What do you think Kevin Stefanski should do when Dillon Gabriel is cleared from concussion protocol? Should Shedeur remain the starter based on his historic debut? How significant is Myles Garrett's public support for Shedeur? Do you believe the Browns have finally found their franchise quarterback? Drop all your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear your perspective on this massive story. If you made it this far, you are clearly invested in following every development of Shedeur's journey and the Browns quarterback situation. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update when we drop new content covering this story. Give this video a thumbs up if you believe Shedeur Sanders should be the Browns starting quarterback for the rest of the season and beyond. Share this with your friends who are Browns fans because this is the most important quarterback decision Cleveland has faced in decades. The moment of truth is coming. The right answer is obvious. Let's hope Kevin Stefanski makes the right call. Until next time, keep watching, keep believing, and keep coming back for more incredible content.